try to make me feel embarrassed. Stereotypes have been a name, but they tell me I'm the one with problems. They're the ones who are insane, so for those who are but won't admit it, you shouldn't feel like that, cause you could be 20% cooler and 10 seconds slower. Shout it out. I'm proud to be a Brony. Yeah, yeah. I'm proud to be a Brony.
Hello mares and gentle colts, my fellow bronies. Welcome to I'm Brony and I'm Proud. I've got Brandon Fisher with me. Hello Brandon.
Hello.
How's it going, man?
I'm alright, thank you very much, Lee.
Nice. So how did you become a brony, my friend?
Well, the thing is I don't call it brony. I don't come into it with a branding or identify as that. I just say I like magical horses. Magical talking fluorescent coloured horses, and that's kind of how I came off with it. But I started watching them because I got really bored one Christmas. I was looking on YouTube and I came across an episode and I was like, you know what, I think this is going to be a bit lame, this is pretty stupid. Let's just watch the magical talking horses, and just for funsies, because I'd seen them online before. For some reason it became rather popular with it, and it became popular online at the time, and I was like, well, go with this. So I had a look at it and I'm like, this is so lame. This is so stupid. It's great. It's just that. I always thought, well, I could care less what everyone else had to say. It's that sort of appeal. I kind of watched it and I was like, this is just... Yeah. And then I watched another episode and I was like, this is so lame. It's brilliant. And I get going and watching it. Kind of snowballed from there.
Bit of like junk food kind of thing, and you just kind of got hooked into it.
It's just one of those things I was lying about and had, it was something to watch, and I really started liking it, and then it took me a while to find out there was a massive fan base behind it. I just watched it on my own accord and just thought, yeah, it's alright. I made a post on Facebook, and then people started coming to oh, I like it too. This is brave. Which one's your favourite horse? And I'm like, hold up, buddy. I'm just watching a show with the horses. I don't even know their freaking names yet. What are you on about? Settle down. Basically, I say, look, it's as gay as anything. It's so gay, it's great. It's brilliant. And that's how I always went about it. I enjoyed it because it did kind of make you happy in that really sort of a lame way. And yeah, I kept watching it. And I didn't go overboard like all the, you get all the classic, the brownie kids that go out and they buy a whole heap of the merchandise stuff. And they do all that. But yeah, I kind of came into it organically on my own, and I did my own thing with it.
Fantastic. Your story it's like the other end of the scale, and I really appreciate that.
Because usually you get the guys that are like, I didn't like it at the start, or I had my friend show it to me. I had to show everyone else and all my other friends, and I just kind of went at it like, it's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that, because Paul, he got into the show because his daughters watched it.
Yeah, I heard him say that actually. That's another end of the sort of thing where you get people that have that. I saw it was like on the internet, there's like a meme, I think it was Bad Advice Derpy or something.
This I got to see.
And the caption was, laptop overheated, put it in the freezer.
Yeah, it sounds like something Derpy might do.
But I thought, because I like the design of them, because it's simple and it's like, this is adorable. And yeah, that's kind of how I got into it.
Fantastic. So what else makes up your story, my good friend?
Before I started watching that sort of thing, I finished year 11, which was a couple of years ago now. I'd had a bit of a rough time before that year 11 coming up. I never really liked high school, particularly in the later years. It was not the high school, it's not the learning sort of thing, it's the social aspect. I never got along with a lot of the people there, and wasn't too happy. And it's funny because when I started watching the show, for some reason, something about it just made me happy as piss, because it's just one of those things. It's like a sort of an innocent aspect of it, grown up with a really simplistic sort of outlook on things. It's just, I like it, and if anyone's going to criticise me, I shove it up their ear end. As far as I'm concerned, that's kind of why I always come into it like that. I've always formulated my own opinions on things, and that's kind of how I came into that.
What else are you doing? So you've gone from high school. I relate to you completely. I was a loner. I didn't really connect with anyone. High school sucked for the first few years because I've been different, but I also moved from another state, Tasmania, to Victoria, and that was shocking, and people can be terrible. So what are you doing now?
I'm currently going to TAFE, studying sound production and music performance. When I left high school, I actually left halfway through year 12 to go try sheet metal trade with my dad for about a year, and I didn't like it. It wasn't my thing. I can't do repetitive things in a workshop. It's just, because I'm a creative person, I can't friggin' stand it. When I was doing that, I was watching the magical horses all the time, and it kind of cheered me up as well. Then I did year 12, and then I went to TAFE, which is what I'm doing now.
From what I understand, you're utilizing the skills with the PonyCon franchise.
Yeah, I like to think that I know my stuff when it comes to my instruments, particularly guitars and guitar amps, and how to set that sort of thing up. And I have a reasonable knowledge about microphones and sound production, live sound production. It's not really my sort of thing, but I kind of have an idea about it.
You've got a knack for it, and then you sort of tend to build it from there.
Yeah, definitely.
I know what you mean. I mean, I'm a filmmaker by trade, and I've been doing it for, well, God, over a decade, and it's, I'm still trying to make my mark at it, still cracking at it, chipping away, and it's the reason for moving from Melbourne to Brisbane. There was an opportunity that presented itself and sort of changed very quickly in the last few months, and I know what you're saying about sound. As a lot of filmmakers would hate to admit, sound is more important than the vision. It's what hits you first at the cinema. You spot a crack in a sound before you spot a crack in a film frame, that's for sure.
Yeah, I guess so. You'll definitely notice if the sound quality is off.
I worked on a crowdfunding trailer recently. We had a public screening for it, and it definitely took me by surprise. And one of the major issues was sound, so I ended up creating a version myself, and then totally, went from the ground up and creating one of the most solid mixes I think I've done. And it's amazing. It's quite a balancing act, isn't it? When you have lots of instruments, lots of audio inputs, a lot of sources, and you have to sort of make sure it all matches up. So to make sure everything's under that 0 dB. Of course, it's a bit different for video editing. With a live mix, is it sometimes a challenge for you?
Yeah, I guess with a live mix and all that, you kind of got to get your equalization right on the ball, and you got to cater to the room, those sorts of things. And I'm a lot better with studio work and recording sorts of things. That's what I'm particularly good at.
Sweet.
I like putting my knowledge of particularly guitar amps and all that into practice, because that is a real interest for about past 5-6 years. I've really been into that sort of thing.
Fantastic. Of course, in the studio environment, it's way more controlled, and you can do it instrument by instrument. You don't have to cram everything into the one room, and it's a chance to really, well, I guess one way to put it, you can really play around.
Yeah.
So you there for Melbourne?
That was a fun convention, that was.
Take me sort of through, maybe roughly through a day, maybe the first day of the con, and describe sort of your journey, let's say from, beginning of the day to the end of it.
I was in charge of the after dark stuff, but I was allowed to hang during the day. So I thought it'd be funny to go down the line to see how many people were getting in. I went down the bloody street and around the corner, hell of a lot of people. But I just thought it was funny seeing all these people. You'd see the cosplayers and stuff, and the most common one was Pinky and bloody Rainbow. I'm rather a bit of a tool when it comes to that sort of thing. Pink one, cocaine addict, when every time an Applejack would walk past us, I'd go up to them and say, "Can you read?" And they'd go, yeah. Then you're not the real Applejack. Go away. One person got rather offended, and the other one caught onto the joke and said, "Can you read?" "No, you're the real Applejack." It's just generally taken off the stereotype that she's a drunken hick and can't read, as far as I'm concerned.
Understood.
Yeah, so I've kind of come up with my own sorts of ideas about this sort of thing, and I have fun with it. I counted the fedoras, how many people were wearing fedoras. There were about 40 or 50 fedoras. I thought it was hilarious. There's so many fedoras. I wonder how many of them, how well they could tip their fedoras. I was very tempted to go and buy Mountain Dew for them. I was very tempted for it because they looked rather thirsty in the line. They needed Kawa Duty juice. I was just very, very tempted to ask how to get out of the friend zone, what they thought about the friend zone on the way down. I went to the artist panels and all that because I have a friend there that's named Kaz. She also goes by Graphite Sketch.
Yep.
She often cosplays as her own OC in her fursuit. She's a good friend of mine. There was Owen there, and I call him, he's a guy with a 3D printer called Owen, or Cider, because he's walking around wearing a lab coat, and I've been calling him Professor Plastic ever since, and he freaking hates the name. I've been planning to go and take the piss out of the voice actors as well when they were there. That's what I really, really wanted to do. So what I thought would be great as a joke, I'd walk up and I'd come to say, "During your time in Australia, have you two shared a gay time?" And they're sitting there confused like, what? Walked up the stage and just give them a couple of gay times. Enjoy your gay time together. It's a mutual experience. They're sitting there eating their gay times and all that, and everyone thought it was brilliant. But yeah, it's about the gist of what I did during the day. And at night, I wasn't actually on the job that night, so I was just walking around the concert. So what I thought would be funny, I cooked up a whole bunch of spaghetti and walked down with my pot of spaghetti down to the concert, just walked around in front of the cameras that were streaming and just ate spaghetti in front of them. Just staring at them blatantly, just eat spaghetti. What are you going to do about it? My spaghetti.
Now that is something Derpy would do. I would love to see Derpy do that in an episode.
Puts me in my pockets, let it fall out, that'll do.
I'm really glad to see you having fun with the fandom, because, there might be some bronies that might take a little too seriously.
Oh, yeah, and those are the ones I really sort of cringe at, and I get a lot of them. I run a page called Colgate, often go by the name of Colgate the Cynical Douche. Come along, have fun.
So if you can give us a couple examples of when a brony is too serious online.
When they act like a knob. Basically, the thing is that you don't have to go absolutely apeshit over it, and I don't do all the break this thing. I don't do any of that. I just never got into the concept of friggin' getting so over the top about it. It's like when people bring it into absolutely friggin' everything, or they try to be super duper edgy with it. Look, it's just one of those things where it's just, if you like something, fair enough, you can say I like it, but just don't go over the top. You have people that's in just everyday conversation really get into using all the vocabulary. One thing I've actually seen happen is when we're sitting around the park, because we're all pretty down to earth with a lot of my mates in the band, might listen to some of the music sometimes just because they like it or whatever. I've never gotten and sat there, and I've never really got into the musical side of the fandom or what they're doing. What I can't get over is when they're all, you got a whole bunch of them. I think it's some of the guys from Canberra. They're sitting around in a circle and just yelling the songs out as loud as they bloody well could. Just shut up and let us continue doing what we're doing.
So you're telling me they're shouting out the songs from the show?
Yeah, it's like, well, you can enjoy them, you can sing along to them. There's also, you got the issue, I've noticed a lot of, the ones that are really socially awkward tend to, cling to the magical pony horse things. They tend to cling to that identity as being a brownie in public as a personal sort of a thing.
Maybe being a little too close for comfort, and conventions are designed so you actually branch out and actually talk to people. Yeah, by all means. They make the cons and they structure them because they know that you're going to get these guys. We did have a couple of issues with a couple of people that were being a bit awkward, but the combos were sorted out rather well. I think what constitutes as too much is when it gets annoying. You have the issue of people that obsess over something. I remember there was one time someone actually walked up and said, "Oh, what's your favourite pony?" I don't know, the big white one with the sun on its ass. How's that? When you are on the job at the con, when it's time to, TCB, take care of business, does it change anything for you, or is it just a continue of whatever, I'm here kind of thing, and I just got to do what I got to do?
Yeah, that's kind of basically it. It's just, I'm there, I'm hanging around and goofing about like an idiot as usual. Pop in and say, come in and do the job, or just do the job. It's not really that difficult. It's just, have fun, be rather casual with it, and get back out.
You can't help but like it.
Yeah, it's one of those sorts of things.
I think up to My Little Pony, I was never into unicorns. I was mainly really into Stargate. That was my poison, and it wrapped up, and I'm thinking, what the hell I watch now? And then I stumbled upon to watching Star Trek again, and then for some reason, Brony on another community shared this documentary with me about the fandom, and I thought, okay, watched the whole thing, gave the show a go, and I thought, and now it's like, wow, it's hard to believe I got into it at all, but yeah, I seem to really like it as well. And in terms of, how far I want to go as a Brony, I haven't really decided that yet.
I think the best way to think about it is, instead of thinking how far I want to go, just go about it like you just like the show. I mean, if you want to delve into the fandom, just look around at it and just make your own sort of idea up, and don't try to fit in with anything. When at the end of the day, it's just a whole bunch of people that like a show designed for children. It's just something that you shouldn't have to think that hard about it. I never did, and I still mumble about the parts of the fandom. You get to the point where you just become desensitized to it, and you're like, yeah, alright.
So would you say, probably just to take us home, I guess what's better than liking a show is really taking the piss out of it?
Yeah, exactly. Just don't take everything so seriously. Don't get overly defensive, and don't engross yourself in it so much. I mean, I think it was some video that was purely for shock value. I think it was cupcakes or something like that. People absolutely hate it. They get mad because it's got their favourite horses and they're getting cut up by another horse and they walk out. If you take it that seriously, then you shouldn't be on the internet. It's the same with, the Klopp stuff. You get people that are just absolutely over the top with it, and they go on bloody holy crusades to get rid of it because it's evil and it's disgusting. How dare they? When you think about it, it's like, well, it's not hurting anyone. Most of the time, it's pretty retarded.
But it comes down to something really simple. It's like, well, if you don't like it, just don't look at it. Epic Cupcake Time is one of my favorites because it's so outrageous. They took Epic Mealtime and combined it with My Little Pony, and I think it's bloody brilliant.
Yeah, I actually had someone whinge at me because I posted a picture of something of Pinky doing cocaine, and they got mad because they're like, I can't stand seeing the ponies doing drugs, it's just horrible. And I'm sitting there and it's like, it's a picture of a pink horse doing cocaine. It's funny. Piss off.
I'm right there with you, man.
And again, it comes back to where you got to stop taking shit seriously. Have you heard about the guy that literally wants to marry a Twilight plushie?
All right, listeners, this is when a Brony goes too far. I think we've got the line here. No, I haven't. Tell me, man.
This guy, I've actually met him on Skype. I actually have spoken to the guy. He kind of comes off as a normal guy, but I think the issue being is that he's not quite right in the head. He just loves the character so much that he has to marry the plushie. He thinks the plushie's real. He actually thinks it is the character from the show.
I totally agree with you. It is a fictional television show, and listeners, whatever you do, don't follow that kind of example,
No. By all means, don't do that. that. That's just a big no-no. I think at this point, there was a line, and by now they've crossed it. But let's keep going and see what happens.
Although, you know, in this day and age...
That's how it goes on the internet. They crossed the line a long time ago. There is no line anymore. They just do it and they keep doing it. But the problem being is that when people get so engrossed in these sorts of things, they don't sort of realise that, you know, they can have their own personal line with things, but I guess that's where you get too over the top about being really protective of the show.
Although, I would like to see that wedding on YouTube.
Oh my god, it's brilliant. He actually bought a ring and everything. He's a magical man, that one.
It technically gives friendship is magic a whole new meaning, doesn't it?
Right. Because the thing is when you actually look at the show for what it is, it's not an overly complex show. It doesn't have really complex lessons in it at all. If your life was in that situation where magical horses fixes it, where was it before? How did you get in that situation where that was what fixed it? And why do you think that is what fixed it? It's cheered me up, but when you get people that sit there and say, and go over the top about, it saved my life, it's the best thing in the world, I guess people honestly do have that standpoint with things. I can't get that sort of idea, because I guess I've just been rather casual with it. I do have rather broad opinions on those sorts of things, but I never delved into parts of the fandoms and all that, like, you know, parts where people get mad. I still sit there and I take the piss, because I like taking the piss out of things I like. I mean, I'll happily sit there and say I'm a spaghetti flinging moron. You've got to be able to take the piss out of yourself, and the people that can't do that, those are the ones that I find just rather cringeworthy, and I guess that's where that line is.
More or less about everyone's drawing their own line. Every person's line is different.
Yeah.
Although, you know, in a broader social context, marrying your plushie because you think it's real...
That is the absolute extreme sorts of things. I think it's gotten to the point when you get the sorts of people that do fit the stereotype of neck-bearded, fedora-wearing morons that live in their parents' basement with no sense of hygiene. Even though that's a stereotype, stereotypes come from somewhere.
I guess one way to look at it is just to find a balance.
Yeah, I've always been, you know, the sort that likes to point shit out in fandoms and laugh at them. I had a couple of people suggest I should do a small stand-up comedy thing. The problem is my jokes probably aren't appropriate for the crowd.
Oh, yeah, and especially if there are little kids that are coming too.
Yeah. I came up with a joke one day that was basically I was going to go along the lines of dating advice for brownies. Now, here's the go. Brownies have the issue of being rather socially awkward and they have a lot of trouble. They don't usually go on dates all that often. And, you know, I thought I'd make up a couple of easy questions you can ask on a date so you can really find the right person for you just for brownies. First question, have you ever had sex with a horse? If no, fair enough. I can relate to you. If yes, don't go near that because it's like throwing a toothpick into the Grand Canyon. Second question, would you consider having sex with a horse? If not, alright then. If yes, I can relate to you.
And that's it. It's probably the most fastest way to find out if someone else is a brony, especially a female.
Definitely a great way to do it. That's kind of the way you go about it.
And even if she's not a brony, you know, the right girl who's kind of cool will find it hilarious. Because you know what? It shows confidence.
If you actually went up and asked someone that, I think they'd smack you somewhat over the head.
That's usually the first thing.
I dare you, go up and walk up to someone and say, have you ever had sex with a horse? I have no doubt in my mind someone's going to get belted. There's a project for your week. Go up and do it and see what reactions you get.
And let us know on Twitter or Facebook.
Yeah.
Listeners, all participants and affiliates of I'm Brony and I'm Proud, I'm not responsible for any reactions that you may encounter during your experimentation.
However, we have every right to laugh at your stupidity.
On that note, Brandon, I'd like to end the show. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it. You've really brought a fresh perspective, you know, I would say the most objective perspective on the fandom so far. So thank you very much.
No worries.
All right, have a good one, man.
You too.
Bye.
Yeah.
This has been I'm Brony and I'm Proud. Lucky Knight speaking. Thanks for listening. Remember to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at IBAIPshow. Proud to be a Brony. Intro and outro by Black Griffin. My Little Pony, friendship is magic.
My little pony. I used to wonder what friendship could be. My little